He started the band. He made their sound famous. But for Brian Jones, his journey ended suddenly, leaving many questions. What really happened? Hi everyone, Anthony here from 10 of the Best. Today we're taking a close, respectful look at Brian Jones, the brilliant but troubled founding member of the Rolling Stones. We'll explore his genius, the things that led to his final days, and the sad questions around his early death. Get ready to see the real person behind the famous name, the creator, Brian Jones, and how the Rolling Stones began. Before Mick and Keith led the way, the Rolling Stones was Brian Jones' idea. Brian was the one who thought up the band, gave them their name from a Muddy Waters song, and found all the first members. He was amazing at music, playing many instruments. He showed the Stones all about the blues and R&B music that made their early sound special. Brian wasn't just a guitar player. He played harmonica, slide guitar, sitar, and more, making the band's music truly unique. He was the first cool, rebellious face of the band before Mick Jagger became the main singer. He grew up in the suburbs, but didn't like normal rules. He loved blues music a lot, and this passion helped him start one of rock's most famous bands. His early interest in American blues artists like Elmore James and Muddy Waters was huge, and he brought that raw energy to their first practices and exciting early shows. You can hear his special touch on early songs like Under My Thumb with its marimba, or Painted Black with the sitar. Brian truly created the early, wild, and artistic style of the band. All right, before we get deeper into rock's biggest secrets, I need you to do something even harder than Brian Jones trying to play the sitar after a long night. Look down. See that like button? Give it a good, strong click. It's like a perfect guitar riff. Feels great every time. And then, for a perfect ending that won't get you in trouble, hit that subscribe button and join the 10 of the Best family. Don't be a one-hit wonder. Stick around for the whole album.
Huge fame, changing roles, and the start of problems. Now, back to Brian's story. As the Rolling Stones became super famous all over the world, the pressure of being a star grew. Also, the power dynamic inside the band began to change. Brian was once the band's leader and most noticeable member, but his influence started to fade as Mick and Keith began writing most of the songs. During this time, the band became huge, but for Brian, it was also the start of his difficult behavior and serious drug problems. This was a sad, common issue for rock stars in the 60s. His personal life became very messy with many complicated relationships and legal issues. These problems began to hide his music skills. Making his life even more complicated, Brian Jones also fathered several children with different women during this time. While he had a public image of freedom, the details of these relationships and his role as a father were often hidden or unclear. Many of these children were born out of his very brief or wild relationships, and Brian had little or no day-to-day part in their lives, especially as his fame grew and his personal life spiraled out of control. Some of these children only had their connection to Brian confirmed years later, adding a layer of hidden history to his already complex legacy. These unacknowledged or distant family ties were a less seen side of his life, but they were certainly part of his chaotic circumstances. His many arrests for drug possession started causing real problems, stopping him from traveling and even playing shows. All these personal troubles made his life increasingly unstable.
Fading away, being alone, pulling back, and the painful departure. By 1968 and early 1969, Brian Jones was not showing up much for the Rolling Stones, and his relationship with the band was very bad. His drug problems and falling health meant he couldn't be trusted in the recording studio or on stage. He was often missing or couldn't play well, which made the rest of the band very frustrated. The bright, creative musician who started the group became lonely, a shadow of who he once was. He was trapped by his problems. Stories from recording sessions for albums like Beggar's Banquet and Let It Bleed show how often he was absent or just couldn't contribute. The other band members like Mick and Keith talked about their sadness and frustration over Brian's decline and how much he had pulled away. In June 1969, the situation came to a head. Because of his legal issues, Brian couldn't get a visa for a big U.S. tour, which was a massive problem for the band. So a meeting was held, and while it was publicly stated that Brian left by mutual agreement, the truth was that he was effectively sacked or forced out by Mick Jagger and Keith Richards. This was a very painful public moment, marking a low point in his life. He was left lost without the band that had been his creative home. He retreated to Cotchford Farm with hopes of starting a new band or solo music, a small bit of hope that wouldn't last. The final moment, death at Cotchford Farm and lasting questions. Just weeks after he left the Rolling Stones, on July 3, 1969, Brian Jones was found dead in his swimming pool at Cotchford Farm. He sadly joined the famous 27 Club. The official cause of death was death by misadventure, meaning it was an accident caused by alcohol and drugs. However, the events around his death have been a source of huge talk and debate for decades. The exact timeline of his last hours and who was present at Cotchford Farm still have conflicting stories. People still ask questions, and there are theories that he was murdered. All this means Brian's death is still one of rock and roll's biggest mysteries. His early and puzzling death became a somber sign of the wild excesses and dangers hidden behind the glamorous world of 60s fame, leaving many questions in its wake. The immediate shock in the music world was immense, and the Rolling Stones even played a free tribute concert just days later. His final moments remind us how fragile even the biggest stars can be. The lasting mark, Brian's legacy beyond the life. Even though Brian Jones's life ended so tragically and mysteriously, his influence on the Rolling Stones and rock music itself has never faded. He was the key creative force in the band's crucial early years, bringing in blues sounds and pushing them to try new instruments. Without Brian, the Rolling Stones might never have sounded the way they did in their iconic phase. Think of his sitar on Paint It Black, the recorder on Ruby Tuesday, or the marimba on Under My Thumb. These were his ideas that gave the Stones their unique edge. His death also, in a strange way, made his legend grow even bigger. For many, he became a symbol of the wild, out-of-control side of 60s fame, a talented artist who burned too bright, too fast. His image, his style, and the questions around his passing have kept him a talked-about figure for decades. Even today, fans and musicians recognize Brian as the true founder and the creative spark that ignited one of the greatest rock bands in history. The enduring mystery around his death only adds to his legendary status in rock folklore. His sad story is a powerful reminder, but his music and his vision continue to live on, echoing through rock and roll. Brian Jones, a musical innovator, a fashion icon, and the true creative force behind the Rolling Stones' beginnings. His life was a complex mix of genius and struggle, ending tragically, but his lasting mark on music is undeniable. He truly lived the rock star dream and nightmare to its fullest. I hope you gained a new understanding of Brian's deep and complicated legacy today. If you did, remember to like this video, subscribe to 10 of the Best for more incredible deep dives into rock's fallen legends, and ring that bell. Until next time, keep the music alive.